Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Diane Allen, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. A great interview with Paul Teutul. We have an amazing visionary with us today who has a life and a career that is not your typical average. So I invited him on the show today so we could learn about how Paul got started. How did it all work? And what hope does he have for the future? So Paul, welcome to the show.
How are you?
I'm doing great. And
Good.
Thank you for coming onto the show and spending your valuable time sharing inspiration with all of us around the world.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy.
I hope I don't let you down.
Oh, you're not going to let me down at all, because what I know is that when people have visions and they go after their dreams, there's always some wisdom in there, even if we don't realize it. So tell us a little bit about you. How did you get started? What kinds of things interest you, and what led you to the chopper industry? But I know there was more before that.
Yeah, I mean, I was always, I had a steel fabricating business because I started in 1973. And you know how that came about is when I got out of high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went to work for my brother-in-law, and he had a steel shop. And then I decided that I really didn't want to work for anybody. So I opened up a steel business, and, you know, I did mostly ornamental work and that type of work. But you know, I had a bike even back then. So that was my real passion. But, you know, I really couldn't make money that way. So it couldn't, you know, I liked the steel business. And I think that the steel business helped me later on as far as fabrication and stuff with dealing with bikes, because, you know, back then there wasn't a lot of aftermarket parts. You had to pretty much fabricate anything that you wanted that was different. And, you know, in the steel business, I had the ability to do that because you had welders and torches and, you know, odds and ends like that.
All right. So your creativity, you had to kind of really go for it back then. What, when you said that you didn't want to go work for anyone, tell us about what you were thinking at that time out of high school. Because a lot of people think they're getting out of high school and they can't wait to go to college and go work for somebody and do that traditional road. So tell me a little bit about that, about how you just knew you didn't want to go work for anyone.
You know, it goes back to the vision. You know, when I graduated high school, I was not the best student by no means. So the only thing that I knew is that I'd never be able to work for anybody. And so that's kind of how I got started. And it's kind of a rough way to start being in business by yourself, you know, not having a huge plan. But I knew that there was things that I wanted to do. And again, I go back to working with my brother-in-law, and, you know, with the steel business, there's a lot of creativity in that, and especially when you work with ornamental stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, you just have to know, it's not like drilling a hole in a beam. There's all geometry, and, you know, and even in steel beams, I like the fact that you can start off with a piece of steel, and at the end of time, or whatever, how long it takes you, there's a full building. You know, and then you start all over. And it's kind of like with a bike, you know, and with a bike, you start out with a frame, and, you know, you keep building, and the end result or the climax is, you know, there you are, the bike's 100% done, and you watch it piece by piece. Right.
It's so rewarding to like have the vision and then keep creating, and then it's done. How old were you when you got your first motorcycle?
I think I was like 18, 19 years old, somewhere around there. Yeah. Yeah. And I started, you know, working on bikes for people. And again, I go back to, you know, having a torch and having stuff that welders and stuff that nobody had back then. So I was always, even in the steel business, I was always either doing something with somebody's bike or working with my bike. So, you know, I've always been around bikes pretty much all my life, even though I had 30 years in the steel business.
Oh, that's so exciting. I know some friends in the steel business, and they talk about the same kind of thing, that they love starting out with all the steel, and then there's a building, or then there's whatever it is they're creating. One of them was working on building a new stadium recently, and I do a lot of different creative things. That's the same. Like when I'm quilting, it's like I have all this fabric and then I have something, and I love that, putting things together in a creative way that takes like your visionary creative self, but like you said, the geometry and the math, and so you have to use both sides of your brain to make it all come together, right?
And you got to have drive. You know what I mean? You got to have perseverance. My expectations are very high. So not only with myself, with other people, and there's some positives and some negatives to that. But I've always been that person that had that drive. Failing wasn't an option, no matter what. So something, right. I never was like, well, that's not going to work. Well, it is going to work because I'm going to make it work. You know what I mean? So it's not an option. It's got to work. So, I think that's what's helped me along in life and in business also.
Sure. I'm sure it has, because if you don't give any room for failure, it's going to work. You'll find a way.
But once in a while you do have to fail, because that's your best learning experience.
Right. Well, then that's a learning experience. So you don't get stuck there, right? You kept on going.
No. You move on and learn from it.
That's so true. So tell us all about Orange County Choppers. You guys have been on television a lot, right? Didn't you have a show or something?
20 years.
That's what I thought. And and how is that, taking your work into like the first time you saw yourself on TV, like that way, and those kinds of things?
That's a good. Yeah, a lot of people want to know that. But what really happened was, I'm just a regular blue collar guy, and I was just in my steel business building bikes. And one day Discovery was looking for somebody on the East Coast, because they had Jesse James that did the first show on the West Coast that was very successful. So somehow they were going through the website and they seen a picture of me, and they said, "This guy looks like a motorcycle guy. Give him a call." And that was 20 years ago. So, it's kind of like, when you're just a regular guy and, now you're going to be on TV, you say to yourself, never would you think that you're ever going to be on TV. And, it's kind of like, what do I do? How do I act? Do I change my clothes? Do I dye you go, all this stuff. Do I lose weight? Do I gain? All that stuff goes through your mind. And then at the last minute, I said, I'm just going to be who I am. And I think that was probably the success of the show. Yeah,
definitely the success of the show, because of your authenticity. You're just who you are. And I think people really resonate with that. You're not some, made up, pretend fake person, trying to be something that you're not. So when you look back on your life from here, and you look back at all of the road in the steel business, the choppers, TV, all these things, what is one of the biggest lessons that you would share with somebody who's thinking about starting their own business, or maybe they're just getting out of high school and go, I want to do something on my own? What kind of wisdom would you share with somebody who's curious?
I think it's simple. It's follow your dream. You know what I mean? If you have a dream, whatever it is that you want to do in life, I think that you need to pursue it. And again, it's kind of like I said before, if that's what you really want to do in life, then do it.
Excellent. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Follow it and go with it, and be yourself, right? And when you're being yourself, you never know what opportunities are going to drop in.
Yeah, I think that's important. And I think that one of the most important things, especially for me, is remembering where you came from. Because, early on in life, growing up, I didn't have the best childhood. So you when you get the opportunity, to start doing things on your own and, trying to be successful in what you're doing, I think that, there's a lot of discouraging stuff along the way. And I just feel that that's going to happen to anybody, and doesn't make any difference what business it is, but you have to get past that.
And what are some things you do to get past those disappointments or those times where you're discouraged along the way? Because you're right, it's up and down, right? And so how do you do that? How do you get on the other side of those things?
I drink a lot.
You drink a lot. Drink a lot of water.
I'm only kidding.
So you're drinking water, iced tea?
Water. I drink a lot of water with lemon, but that's not the way it always used to be. But back to your question. I'm sorry. What was the question again?
What do you do to help yourself get on the other side of, challenges and struggles, the ups and downs of business and the ups and downs of life? Like, how have you made it through all those downs and still are in one piece talking and making sense today?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that, I don't want to repeat myself, but I think it goes back to perseverance.
Perseverance.
I guess afraid to fail, and I think that's been a fear of mine. And again, you know what I mean? I've had some real big struggles, but I was not willing to give up what I was doing. I kind of felt that, when you make whatever distance you make it, you don't want to stop there. It's kind of encouraging to make you keep going. Right. Accumulate it, whatever it may be, time or whatever it is. And for me, I just didn't want to give it up.
Yeah, I think that perseverance, and I also hear in what you're saying, tenacity, like you're not going to give up. And being that I live in Florida, I tell my clients a lot, if you're going to drive from here to California, don't turn around in Texas.
I agree. Yeah.
Right. It's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
If you're going after it, go after it. And even if there's a setback or a derailment or a time thing or something, that doesn't mean that you let go of it. It just means you reorient how you're going to get there. Right?
Yeah. Half measures doesn't work, Right.
Half measures do not work at all. And cherry picking, another thing, doesn't work. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
I think I'll do this. I don't think I'll do that. So you run a team of people with your business. And what would you say your strongest asset is as a leader of this team?
Well, first of all, I think it takes I don't think everybody has that leadership ability. And I think that, you have to be a power of example yourself before you can, to establish leadership amongst your team. And I guess I'm not the most encouraging person, and I'm not the most easy person, but I'm passionate and love what I do, and I think that's important for whatever team that you have to grasp onto that and kind of follow that direction.
Yeah. So you must have a really good way of translating your vision so your team can see it so they can follow the direction with you, right? Like if they can see the vision and feel your passion, it makes it easier for everybody to come together.
Yeah, I think it's, I think you're only as good as the people around you.
Yes.
So, and that has to do with, if you treat people bad, they're going to treat you bad. If you treat people good and you respect, which is another big thing, is respect. Mm-hmm. I think respect is one of the most important things.
Absolutely. And I think I agree with you on that. We got to be able to respect each other no matter what role we're in and all of that kind of thing. So what do you see moving forward for your legacy, for your business, for Paul's life? What do you look forward? I mean, you've done so many amazing things and you've had this great career with all kinds of facets to it. And what do you see moving forward? Do you have any vision for where you're headed or what you want to do from here?
Well, the one thing that I'll probably never give up is bikes.
Sure.
There's other things that I'm heading for in life. But I think that motorcycles will always be a part of what I do. But right now, New York's been a hard place to live. Our business has been shut down for 8-9 months, and it's really affected us terribly. And so right now, my next step is we bought a house in Florida, a little farm in Florida, and then we're putting up a restaurant and a museum and a retail store, and I have a shop down there, and so I think that's going to be my next step, getting out of the cold weather.
Oh, nice. Where in Florida?
Clearwater. That's not where I live, but that's where our restaurant will be, and my new shop.
Oh, wonderful. I'm in Clearwater right this moment speaking.
Oh, are you really?
Yes.
And it's 82 degrees?
Yes.
You're going to have to come to our shop then, into our restaurant.
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. That'd be fun to come and go, oh, wow, it's fun. So coming to the South and always having bikes in your life. And what do you want people to think about when they think your name? Like when they think of you or they see something about you online, what would you like them to know about you, Paul the man?
I think that I'd like to be the person that they know as giving back.
Yeah, a giver.
Yeah, and I think that, when people have different visions of who I am and what I am, and some of the things that are important to me. First of all, I like kids and I like animals better than people. but I'm very involved in me and my wife are involved in the SPCA, non-kill shelter. And so we get very involved with animals, and we do a lot of rescue work. And I think that's one of the most rewarding things. The first thing we did is save a cow down there. And so now we have cows and a horse. And, so I think that at this, and it always has been very important to me. And it feels great to be able to, the way animals are treated today on the side of the road, they're starving and they've been abused, and be able to, take that animal and nurture it back to health again is just such a rewarding thing.
Oh, yes, definitely. So when you're talking rescue animals, you're not just talking dogs or cats. You're talking cows, horses, dogs, cats, whatever, any animal sentient being. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I love it. I love it. I have a very spoiled Labradoodle.
Oh, do you? Yes. I like those dogs.
Yeah, she's amazing. A client actually gave her to me when she was a puppy as a thank you for helping.
They're smart. They're smart dogs.
She's very smart and she's very intuitive. She knows things sometimes before I know that she knows things about whatever we're doing. If I'm getting ready to go somewhere, she's like at the door, ready to go, because she knows that trip she's going with me, and other trips she knows she's not. Like, how does she know that?
Yeah. Most of our animals, and we have a lot of them, I think we have 7 or 8 dogs. I don't know how many cats, but most of those animals were, we rescued them and we were going to find a home for them. And that doesn't work because we wind up with every one of those animals for life.
So you end up getting bonded to them and falling in love with them. And now you have this big family.
Absolutely.
So are you moving all those dogs and cats to Florida, or are they already in Florida?
No, I have some 3 of my dogs in Florida, and then the rest are home back here. So we still have a house in New York, and I have a 20-year-old stepdaughter that lives home. So right now what we're doing is we go down there for 2 weeks, and then we come home for 2 weeks for a while. And eventually I will move down there permanently.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can grow your animals here. That'll be wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, we do have, I think we have horses, we have cows, we have pigs, and a few other things that I can't remember.
I love it. That just warms my heart. So on a little bit different of a note, but it has to do with your Florida. What type of restaurant? What kind of food are you going to have in this restaurant?
I think it's like a variety of food, like not high end, but, in between, good hamburgers, steaks, different things like that. And my partner is going to be doing the running the restaurant part of it, because we had one over here, and it's a big headache unless you know what you're doing. So he's had quite a few restaurants. He owned the Tradewinds Resort, and which you probably know if you're from down here. So he's very familiar with that. And I'll be the guy that still builds the bikes, and we're doing a museum in there. So I'm looking forward to it. I have all my memorabilia and our bikes from day one, people licensing deals. So there'll be walls covered with just different things that I've, accumulated over the years. So I think it'll be, I think the public will really enjoy that.
I know that sounds really exciting, because I love being able to go through memorabilia and watch the time and connect with the different aspects and time of anything that has like a legacy to it. And what you're doing is truly living a legacy, you know?
Yeah. And, 20 years is a long time. And I'm the type of person that stuff means a lot to me. Like when a fan, some of the stuff they made me through the years is incredible, totally incredible. So I kept everything from day one through the 20 years. So I have containers full of memorabilia. So there's a lot.
Oh, how beautiful. It's going to feel so beautiful as you unpack it and keep looking at it and all the memories that go with it all too. As
Pretty
you
soon.
do it.
Pretty soon we'll be doing that. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I really respect your tenacity, and I respect your ability to keep going even when it's difficult. And at the same time, having such a kind, compassionate heart. Like that's very rare in these days. And I'm so glad to get to talk to you.
Thank you.
I have a couple other questions though. One of them is, and they're a little goofy, but it's okay. One of them is, what is the most memorable food you've ever eaten? Like in all of your travels and all around, what's the thing that you look back on and go, that was memorable, good or bad?
It was, we were in the Philippines. We did a couple bikes there for a gambling casino, and they're really big into sushi. But their sushi is like raw fish. And I think that probably was the worst food that I've ever tasted and the worst experience with food ever. And I'm not going to tell you the name of the fish or the dishes because you might not feel too good after I told you.
Okay. So we're just going to leave it at that then.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's like hysterical. And it's funny because I've asked some people on the show what their most memorable food was. Not everybody, but people who've traveled a lot. And some of them have named sushi and then said it was the best thing they ever had. Yeah.
I mean, I've had sushi. I might even get it tonight. That's really good, but they have a different, it's totally different what they think sushi is. It's not my kind.
Oh, that's hysterical. Okay. So is there anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask you about? Because I have one last question, but I want to wait and make sure that we've covered everything that's important to you. Is there anything on your heart that you would like to share with the listeners to help inspire their vision and bring them hope?
I just think it's all about following the direction that you choose in life, and I think that's the best advice. There's probably a lot of other things that you can say, but my experience in life for me to get where I am was just to keep on keeping on, and they say when you fall down, you get up, dust yourself off, and you put one foot in front of the other and you keep going. And I think that that's part of striving for that success that you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to tell you a cute little story that has to do with motorcycles that I don't think I've ever said it on a show, but I don't say it very much, but I think you'll appreciate it. I am back in the 90s, in the early 90s, I was ordained as a Unity minister. And at the end of our ceremony, my friend who rode a Harley actually backed it into the back of the church, and I rode away after being ordained on the back of this motorcycle with my robe flying and everything. And everybody thought I was crazy. And I'm like, no, I love motorcycles. I love them. And so I thought of that sitting here talking to you with your bike behind you. And then I did a wedding for some people in Virginia. And they were in a big club. And they wore their colors. I learned what colors were, wearing your colors. I didn't know what that was. And I learned that. And so I got to bless all the bikes and everybody. And then they took me on they escorted me with the bikes to the ceremony. And then after I did the ceremony, they rode me through the hills of Virginia. It was absolutely stunning. And so I have this love for motorcycles, and in a lot of ways, it's a culture of people taking care of each other and really taking care of each other as a community. And so I'm really grateful that you took the time to be on the show, because I have this deep connection that not too many people know about, of the reverence for that, and so I want
what I think though, when you say that you did something that was important to you, and it didn't matter about the people around you, right, whether they liked it or they didn't like it. And I think that when you go through life, That's something important that you need to look at, because it's not, most of the time it's about you, because, either you're going to gain or you're going to lose from the circumstances. So that's a choice, and that's a choice you made. And I think that in life you have to make choices, whether they're hard or easy.
Right. And then roll with what happens.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if the road just takes a turn, you just deal with it.
Exactly.
Okay, so our final question of the day is, if I was going to create a billboard that had your personal message on it for the world to see, everybody would see it riding up and down all the highways, what would be your message that we would put on that billboard?
Wow. That's a tough one. That's
what everyone says.
Yeah. What would be the message on there?
What would be your message?
You got to think about that a little bit. It might be like, stay true to yourself.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what you've been.
Came from.
Well, it came from your heart, because that's what you've been doing all along. That's what's the underpinning of everything you've shared, and all of your success, your tenacity, the lessons you've learned, the team you've built, dealing with what COVID has done to the shop, and just everything, so many different things. So I want to thank you for being on my show, and thank you for sharing wisdom and hope with people around the globe, actually, and taking time out of your busy day. So thank you, Paul, for being here.
Thank you too. Thank you.
So everybody, you've been listening to Paul Teutul. And so if you want to know more about him and Orange County Choppers, you can find him anywhere, all online, Discovery Channel, everywhere. And you can also learn about him more with his bio and some links to important ways that you can follow him in the show notes for the show. And let him know you heard him here, because what a great, talented, wise man who's just bringing his dream to reality in a humble, amazing way. So thank you again for being on the show, Paul.
Thank you.
Remember, everybody, put your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a purpose. Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episode's, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.